Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
Christopher Media, let's make some noise.
Welcome to Beer Nuts, a weekly excursion into the world of craft beer, brought to you by MichiganBeerGuide.com. And now, here are the Beer Nuts.
All right, welcome to Beer Nuts number 113. I'm Chris. With me from MichiganBeerGuide.com is JR.
Yeah, right here.
And SAK joining us.
Hello again.
That's it. Rest of the Beer Nuts, they're off. We're going to say drinking beer. But this week's theme, it's a show that I knew I had to make. I had to make sure that there was room in my schedule for this. This week we were doing football-themed beers because, I mean, by the time this show posts, it's first week of October. Football season's a month old. And, yeah, it's a good chance to have some fun with puns, so to speak. Maybe. Beer puns. And, JR, we're going to send it to you, sir. Thurston Goal. You have a quote for us,
all right.
I believe.
I do have a quote. Excited that football season's here. Maybe my wife not so much, and that leads into this quote. And the quote is, "My goal this weekend is to move only enough so people know I'm not dead."
Pretty much.
And
describes Saturday and Sunday
pretty
afternoons
much
for me.
Then Saturday's college football, Sunday's pro. I got the Red Zone channel. I got a million college games going on. And then I teach my beer class on Mondays and come home and watch Monday Night Football. So
Living the dream.
great time of year. It's great, and it's nothing goes better together than football and beer. They're made for each other, So kick back, open a cold one, kick back, put your feet up, lay on the couch. Hopefully you're watching NFL Tonight or something. And for those of us in play fantasy football, there's always shows on and give you tips on who to pick up and who to drop, but that's probably for another show. So let's get right into some beers. So the theme of this show is just any kind of beer that you can connect to football in any way. I mean, you can use your imagination. So we're not real strict on this, but as many of you listeners know, if you listen to the show regularly, I am a diehard Philadelphia Eagles fan, and my motto always used to be just one Super Bowl before I die, and now I can die because we finally got it done. So this first beer is a tribute to that, and it's from the Philadelphia area. It's from ARS Brewery in Philadelphia, and this beer is called South Philly Special India Pale Ale. It's 6.5%, and it is a tribute to the Philly Special play. Last play of the first half of Super Bowl 52, and of course the Eagles went on to win that 41-33. So there's actually a little picture. Those of you might remember that a lot of the Eagles wore dog masks. There's a little cartoon of a dog with its tongue out, mimicking that mask that Lane Johnson wore. But let's SAK's here with me. He'll get to sample this too. Let's take a sip of this. It's an IPA. So I already poured this. I couldn't wait for the show, and it was a really nice, healthy Snow White head. It was about one finger at the beginning, and there's still a nice layer on it, nice lacing, good carbonation level. There's a little hazy, nice yellow straw haziness. It looks like a New England IPA. I'm getting a little bit of juiciness here. It's a juicier, hazier one. Now, full disclosure here. I believe the batch that I have, there's no date on the can, but I believe these were released back in the spring when the parade was there. So this is probably a little bit more aged than the brewery would like us to have. The good news is I'm told that they're making more of it. And I do have my friend Michael Palestino in South Philadelphia working on getting me some more Eagle-themed beers. And fortunately I saved one, and it's perfect for this episode. It even has the laces on the label, like the football laces. And I don't know what. It's South Philly Special India Pale Ale, and it's got that dog on it. I don't know, Steve. Any comments? It's perfect segue for the episode.
When you said it was a little bit of age on it, I was concerned that the hops would have fallen off, but it has a great hop smell. Still the bitterness, the haziness. I don't know what it tastes like, 4 to 6 months ago, but This is pretty solid stuff.
Yeah, well, fortunately, when I got this, I refrigerated. It was refrigerated every step of the way. It was in a cooler on my way back from Philadelphia, and it was also refrigerated since I got it. So this is the last can I have. I'm probably save the empty can. Well, try to. But yeah, perfect tribute to the Eagles Super Bowl win. So
I've heard a lot of things over the years. I mean, people always joke about IPAs and that heady topper. Like once you get it, by the time you get it from the store to your car, it's already starting to go, drop off. But I think a lot of people are starting to think that, especially the hazy IPAs, they like a little bit of age on it. I don't mean like years, but if it's too green, it still has kind of a grainy a taste that a lot of people don't like. They prefer, at least, maybe a month before they drink it. And this is delicious.
I agree, and I concur with what you say, Steve, because a lot of people hear Old Nation Boss Tweed, for example. A lot of people say the sweet spot for Boss Tweed's about 2 to 3 months versus, the 2 or 3 days that most people would prefer. So, and invariably, I mean, I bought some Trillium that I had left sitting, when I came back from New England. I had all this beer, and I had a couple different levels in my Keyser, and I remember, long after I'd come back, probably like 8, 9 months, I dug in there and found some cans, and they were still fine. I mean, some of them had some chunks in the bottom that had settled out sediment, but so maybe that, IPAs fade with time. I'm sure there is some truth to that, but I think probably some of them do it more than others, and maybe the hazier styles have longer staying power, because I have had older ones that are fine, and this is a perfect example.
And I would not doubt at all that canning versus bottling probably increases longevity, stability of the hops.
Definitely, the can protects the product from light, and the other factor is if you keep it refrigerated, that helps a lot too, versus having it warm. So, well, all right, this is a good one, and I'm going to pass it over to SAK now. And which one do you want to start with? I'll do this one. The other one is wax.
I love Bomb. Chris, you can edit out my indecision here if you choose to. Let's do the Massacre first.
Okay.
Yeah. Give me a second to remove the wax. And John, do you have any information about beer? Any news you want to share with us while I'm waiting?
Sure, we can. There's a few things in the news lately. Number one, bad news was Lagunitas laid off 100 workers. It was announced yesterday. So, Heineken owns the company now, and, when these big companies buy these craft breweries, they will say they're not going to change anything, but invariably, they owe it to their shareholders to maximize profits, and this is what we see happen. It's a very unfortunate, but I don't know whether they're going to just fold the Lagunitas products into the Heineken USA portfolio or what that's all about, or if they're just. But we were talking before the show, Steve and I, about the competition for shelf space in these stores. I mean, Steve was in a store tonight. Chris was in a store tonight. There's just so many. It's almost overwhelming, the choices you have these days. And, it stands to reason that, it's really hard to compete in this environment. And, a company like Lagunitas, I'm sure their market share is down a little bit because there's so much competition. So it's a tough business in the distribution world. Where it's at with craft breweries is to be the local neighborhood brewery. Those breweries thrive, but when you're battling out for shelf space, it becomes tough. So that was one thing, and then another one thing close to home here is the Right Brain Brewery in Traverse City. It was bought out / merged with Roke Brewing out of Royal Oak, Michigan.
Oh, boo.
So, well, it might be a good thing. They were saying that they're going to still have both breweries operating separately under their same trade names, and if you go to Right Brain, they will now have Roke beers available there, and vice versa. You go to Roke, they'll have Right Brain beers, and it'll be synergies with their distribution. So it's more of a merger and a partnership than it is a buyout. But at the end of the day, I think the Roke has the bigger dollars invested in it. So there are details on I've already retweeted articles on these, so go to Michigan Beer Guy on Twitter. If you want more details, you can read the articles. But that's just a couple things that, off the top of my head, we'll do Hipster Tipster a little early tonight. But I think Steve has tackled the red wax on his bottle of Massacre, so I will let him have the floor. Massacre from Wolverine State Brewery. So I'm sure Steve can tell us how that ties into football.
Well, Massacre from Wolverine State Brewing is brewed, I believe it's out of Ann Arbor, is it not? This is a
Ipsy, maybe?
A strong lager, I think it's called. 10.5%. Of course, Wolverine being the nickname for University of Michigan here locally, which I'm a proud alum. And Massacre is something we can only hope to have happen frequently to the opponents in the Big Ten. This is an Imperial Dark Lager aged in bourbon barrels. I do not know that I've ever had this. This is a 2014 vintage. And, 11.5%, excuse me. Pours very dark but clear. Not much of a head. A little bit of a bourbon aroma there. Let me take a sip. Kind of a sweet start. The bourbon is there. You can tell there's a little bit of age on it. But it's definitely got a sweet, molassesy. It's not particularly thick. I'll be honest with you, I don't know what an Imperial Lager, especially a dark lager like this, should taste like. I don't know that I can compare it to anything because it's not a style that I would typically pick up or try. So anyway, John, anything to add? Is Chris even there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
He's
Sorry,
just
Chris.
chilling in the background. He's his goal is to move only enough so people know he's not dead. No, what I wanted to say about Wolverine State is they only brew lagers. They exclusively brew lagers. And then what I love about this beer is it's amazing what you can do and still make lagers. Because if I would have blind tasted this, I probably would have thought it was a porter. It may be a little bit thin compared to some of the thick, dark stouts we have, but it's got very much the same characteristics. Yet it is technically a lager, so it's brewed at cool temperatures and with lager yeast. So these guys, if you have an aversion to lagers for whatever reason, fortunately, lagers are making a big comeback. For a while there, everybody equated lagers with, the Bud Miller Coors of the world, but no, there's a lot more depth to lagers if you put some time and craft into it. And that's exactly what Wolverine State is known for. So anybody ever gets to the Ann Arbor area, look these guys up. They do amazing things brewing lagers, and they will produce flavors that you would never think could possibly, emerge from a lagers. So this is one of my favorite beers from them. It comes out every year, and I always get a 4-pack of it. It comes with the fancy red wax on it, but it's aged in bourbon barrels. You get a nice. It stands right up there with like your barrel aged porters and stouts. It's a pleasant surprise, and even if it is a Wolverine product, being a Penn State Nittany Lion here. Hey, I'm always up for a good beer, and I'm a good sport, so hopefully I'll be attending the game in a few weeks here in Ann Arbor, and maybe I'll make it a point to stop by their tap room and have a few of these. They do great things at Wolverine State.
You crush the beer like Penn State's going to crush Michigan.
Oh, I don't know. I don't take anything for granted. Should have beat Ohio State, but they 2 years in a row we had them on the ropes and closed the deal. So, you take one game at a time. I'm respectful to my opponent who's sitting right next to me. One of us will be a winner.
It's true.
We'll both be winners as long as we're drinking the Wolverine State Massacre.
Yeah.
Amen to that. All right.
So I guess it's my turn.
Speaking of college football, Chris, you're in the hotbed of struggling football, sadly, these days. Nebraska. We're not sure country. I'm going to turn it over to you. You can tell us what you got.
Yeah, I would say I was out here a couple weeks ago, the week that Michigan did play Nebraska. And while I am not a Michigan fan, I'm a Michigan State fan. was nice to go around to people and be like, so you ready for Michigan to house you on Saturday? And they did. But, yeah, I'm in Nebraska, college football country, but my beer, I got a little bit of a pro team tilt to it. I have from Avery Brewing from Boulder, Colorado. So right there, Colorado, we can go Broncos. But I have Ellie's Brown Ale, which, God help me, representing the Cleveland Browns. But this beer is really good. I've drank ahead, and I've been trying to get as much of this beer into my face as possible. Probably also why I've been a little quiet. Just reading from the website here, it is 5.5 ABV. This beautiful deep rusted brew is dominated by a chocolate and brown sugar maltiness with hints of vanilla and nuts, producing a very smooth, well-balanced, and quaffable brown ale. Let's see. The IBUs were somewhere, but it can't be much because it's a brown ale. So taking a whiff of this, I mean, you're getting the chocolate, you're getting the nuttiness, the sweetness of the malt, maybe even some of that vanilla's coming through. This has a nice thick lacing on it. Had a nice thick head. Let's go take another sip of this. Oh, man. This is such a good beer. The mouthfeel, it's like, it's right. If the scale is left is a beer you can chew and right is, water, this beer is probably like right to the left of the middle, going over towards the beer you can chew side. Like it's not as heavy as some of your stouts, but I mean, it's definitely, St. a lager. And yeah, I mean, it's, John, you were saying that, the beer that you had, if you did a blind taste test, you think it was a porter. I would think this is a stout. If somebody just handed this to me, I would think this is just with the flavor and how it looks and everything. I would think this would be like kind of one of your lighter stouts. But Ellie's Brown from Avery Brewing, Boulder, Colorado. If you see it, grab it. I mean, this is really good beer. And, Chris, Cleveland, by the way.
Oh, go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to say, Cleveland, they opened up the fridges. Not one police horse got punched down. I'd just like to point that out.
Yeah, the Brownies finally won a game. They couldn't even lose the first game. They snatched a tie from the jaws of victory.
Yes.
But it was good to see them have their Super Bowl. They won a game for the first time in like 2 years.
Chris, have you had anything else by Avery that you know of?
Not offhand. And I know we've had a few of their beers on the show, but
6.5% or whatever that is. That's kind of like the watery side of Avery. I mean, they brew some really, really intense, very high gravity beers, and that would be a show that if you did Avery, you would definitely need to Uber back and forth because they brew some extreme beers, and they're tasty, but there are some that you try and you're just like, holy shit, what was that? I mean, there's some really intense stuff there.
Yeah, that's pretty much how the aftertaste, you're getting the chocolate, you're getting the vanilla. I mean, this is so good. For a brown ale, I am really surprised.
Well, as you know, Dugout, I sold Newcastle Brown Ale back in the day when it was still good and brewed in the United Kingdom. And I always have a soft spot in my heart for a good tasting brown ale. It should be nutty and sweet, just like you described. Very underrated style. It's not on everyone's radar. But hey, and here's to the Browns. Maybe they win another game this weekend. They took the Raiders to overtime, and they once again snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. But I think they're pointed in the right direction. Baker Mayfield, who knows? All right.
So who's next?
Back up to me again. And sorry to be selfish, but as an Eagles fan, every Eagles fan harbors ill will towards South America's team, the Dallas Cowboys.
Hey, Steve, I think you got to hit your mute button.
I'll hit it. I just want to say that Philly fans don't have the market cornered on hate for this particular team that John will be mentioning.
Okay, well, yes, as a Philadelphia Eagles fan, you were brought up to despise the hated Dallas Cowboys. So
It's the
a
division.
Philadelphia area brewery, the NFC East, Dallas, the Giants, the Redskins, and the Eagles. So Philadelphia area brewery, Easton, Pennsylvania. We've had some of their beers before. Weyerbacher Brewing in Easton, Pennsylvania. As a tribute to Eagles fans and I guess a little jab at Dallas, they've brewed a beer called Dallas Sucks. And it's got a picture of a cowhead skeleton with the horn sticking out, and it says Dallas Sucks, and it says this beer is for the fans. It's a pale ale. It's 4.5%. It's crushable. It's a good tailgating beer. That's exactly why they made it. So I'm going to pop this one open. Thankfully, they did brew another batch this year, so this one should be fresh. Let's just see. Oh, foamy. I think it's been sitting out for a while, so I have to wait a little bit for mine because I poured too much too fast, and it's Foam City. Actually, yours looks pretty foamy, too. So this thing's lively. But, hey, Dallas Sucks. Pale Ale from Weyerbacher Brewing.
Well, this year it's not just a clever title.
It's always a good title if you're an Eagles fan. The Lions let me down. I was hoping that they would beat them this weekend, but they fell short.
The Lions aren't going to beat many people this year, John, just so you know.
Not on the Eagles' schedule, but
Ready for 4-12.
But anyway, hey, let's taste the beer. Steve, you have less phone. Why don't you go ahead and review this first? It's a session pale ale. It's not as flavorful as the other IPA we had. It's a milder. It's a pale ale that will appeal to everybody. You know, those Miller Lite drinkers that are crushing go to the parking lot at the Lincoln Financial Field. You can give them one of these and they won't miss a beat, because especially after they're on their 8th or 9th one, which Philly fans have been known to imbibe for several hours before games. I will vouch for that. But yeah, so this is just a real sessionable, simple, easy to drink pale ale. I'm getting a slight hops, maybe a citrusy aroma, probably Citra hops, and you can tell it's a sessionable. It's a lot. It's just a little bit of malt and a little bit of hops compared to the last one we had, which was much more hoppy. So, not a knock on the beer. It's just, it is what it is. It's a 4.5%er, and it's made that way because you're supposed to be able to drink a bunch of them, and that's what a session beer is. But certainly, it's fun to go tailgate. Some of you know I have season tickets, even though I live in Michigan, to the Eagles. So I went to the Colts game a couple weeks ago, and always good when you're walking in the parking lot and you see people walking around drinking these. I love it. I love the passion from the brewery. This is for the fans. This beer is for the fans. It says right on it. So, yeah, not the most flavorful beer we've ever reviewed, but that's fine. It's brewed to be an all day drinker, and I think it's more flavorful than a lot of the other stuff you'll see people drinking at tailgates. Any other comments on it, Steve?
I think they need to brew one of these with a different hop profile and just call it "And So Do the Giants." And also something slamming the Redskins as well.
Yeah, maybe like a red IPA.
Maybe put take down the whole division.
Yeah, I like it. And then maybe some Detroit area breweries can take out I Hate the Bears or something.
Lions and Tigers and Beers. Isn't there a place down on Wyandotte? There used to be.
It burned down. It burned down, and they never rebuilt it, but it was a great bar. Lions, Tigers, and Beers. All right, well, we probably should have started with that light session, because after all these nice full-flavored ones, we kind of went a little bit backwards with that, but put it into context. It's a tailgating beer, and any tailgating beer that pokes fun at the Dallas Cowboys is going to be in my cooler on game day. So we're going to hand it off to Steve for the grand finale here, and this is a good one. And when you throw a Hail Mary, that's a bomb. Well, this is going to be another bomb. So, Steve, tell us what you got there.
This is a bottle of Bomb from Prairie Artisan Ales. I believe they're from in Oklahoma. This is a Imperial Stout aged on coffee, cacao nibs, vanilla beans, and chili peppers, including Norgagios coffee, 13.5%. And I've had this before. It's a delicious beer. Prairie brews wonderful stouts, wonderful big stouts.
I've had this beer before. It is very good.
And I'm glad they just do distribute a little bit to Michigan now. It used to be very coveted in the sense that it was, it's hard to get to trade. You needed to know somebody in Oklahoma. But now I do think they do some distribution, and you can actually get this on the shelves occasionally.
Yeah, now that I'm familiar with the label, I have seen a Prairie in a few places in the Detroit area.
Yes, this does see distribution in Michigan, and it's a fantastic beer. They do make a barrel-aged version, but this is just the regular bomb. I'm going to let Steve review it.
This is one of those beers that barrel aging doesn't necessarily make it better. I mean, it certainly makes it more coveted or rarer, but this beer is just an over the top. A lot of coffee, a lot of vanilla. A very, very good base stout to go with it. There's some pepper there. It doesn't add a lot of heat. It just adds a pepper flavor, not a burn. It's just delicious. And they say, I guess, cacao. It's chocolate. Kind of a standard mix that people are making these days. The Mexican, the peppers, the vanilla, the chocolate, the coffee, and it is a wonderful combination when they get the balance right. Again, everything here is in the forefront. It's all good. I can taste it all, and I really like this beer. It's delicious. It ages well too.
Yeah, this one's been my cellar for a few years, but you know what? These beers cost like $9-10 for a single 12-ounce bottle. And, I always laugh when I go in, especially downriver here, to go to Discount Drinks, and you hear the guy in line in front of me sees one on the counter, and he's like, $10 for one beer. But all you ever have to do is take a sip of one, and you'll be running to buy it. For price is no object for a beer like this. This is one that really, for $10, you sit down and you drink one 12-ounce beer, and you can make it last for 45 minutes to an hour. It's great to have, outside on the deck and smoke a cigar, or you can probably watch at least a quarter, maybe a half of football. This will get you through. It's just an absolutely outstanding, 5-star beer here. One thing I want to mention about the appearance is it would appear that there's no head at all on it. It's just like, it looks like it's flat as can be, but it's anything but when you taste it. It's all the flavors, the complex flavors, layers of flavor are all right there, and it's
and this is certainly this is not something that is exclusive to big stouts, but this is one of the ones that is really a treat to drink with some when it's cold, and put it off to the side, and then as it warms up, it goes through just a series of changes in the flavor profile. Different things will become very prominent. The coffee will be more prominent now, and then less the vanilla later. It just is one of those ones that's wonderful to sip and cherish as the temperature rises.
And that pretty much stands for all their stouts. They have an apple brandy noir. They got Pirate Bomb, which is rum barrels. Pretty much you see the Prairie label. Don't hesitate to make that buy and disregard the sticker shock, because, you pay a little bit more, but you're getting what you pay for, and it's absolute worth every penny, everything I've ever had from this brewery. So I think it was a great way to end this show, because, a bomb is the greatest play in football, and that's probably the greatest beer we had tonight. Let's toss it around the room. I was really surprised at how hard it was to find beers for this episode. I figured, go in. And I was thinking, of course, we don't get Yangling in Michigan. Otherwise, I could have bought that and said there's an eagle on it. I'm an Eagles fan. But, I try to think we went through the whole thing. Steve said he was looking for something with Patriot. And, the only thing I could think of there was, all the Sam Adams bottles say Brewer and Patriot on it. Could have maybe got something from Boston Beer and maybe stretch it into Boston College. I did have a beer from State College, Pennsylvania, that I was going to break out, but can't do them all. But it was a State College beer, and it was called Night Owl. And then I was like, well, you could even do Temple Owls for that as well, or Penn State, because it's a State College brewery. But all in all, I mean, Steve walked around the beer store. Chris, I think you walked around the beer store.
Yeah.
We were just for anything to, any tie, and it wasn't very strict. It didn't have to be an NFL team. It could be a college team. I know there's Falconer's Flight hops out there, so Falcon, maybe if you kind of find a Falconer's Flight beer, you could have tied it into that, but kind of challenging. So listeners, you got any ideas out there, beers that tie in, hey, hit us up on Twitter at Beer Nuts Podcast. Love to hear from you.
When I was walking to the store, I was actually thinking to myself, they need a football team named the Dragons, because there were lots of dragons. Dragon's Milk, but a lot of other beers from different companies that had the dragon motif. And I was even actually thinking as I was walking around, I mean, it would be hard to find a beer tying into baseball or hockey or basketball. And we'll see what happens. But it was, like I said, if there was a team named Dragons, I would have been all set.
My high school mascot, Glendale Dragons.
Well, there is a college in Philadelphia called the Drexel Dragons, small school. But, I think we should give ourselves a month or so and do a hockey one. And let's see. So maybe listeners, please send us your suggestions. We have a month to figure this out. And maybe beginning in November, we'll do a hockey one. The worst case scenario, we'll just have to pick beers from cities that have hockey teams.
Well, certainly the Red Wings, anything red, like any red ale. I got that in my back pocket, like the Browns. But, I'd like to be a little more clever than just red for Red Wings.
Well, I don't know if anybody's seen social media lately. My Flyers have a new mascot called Gritty. It's one of the ugliest mascots known to man. I mean, we go from the Philly fanatic, highly revered, to probably the bottom of the barrel with Gritty. But there is a Philadelphia area brewery brewing a beer named after Gritty, so maybe by then I'll be able to acquire that. I just read that today. It's Broken Goblet is the name of the brewery.
It looks like a Muppet on meth.
Well, if anybody's seen, there's a meme on Facebook going around that's the Abominable Snowman from Rudolph? The Abominable or the
Bumbles.
And then they have the Yukon Cornelius with the red beard, and they're saying, use a condom. Because it looks like a cross between those two creatures. So we digress here. But, let's see. Blue Jackets, Columbus Blue Jackets. There's Columbus Brewing. Bodie's a good beer they make, even though we don't have much love for Columbus in the state of Michigan. Probably no love. But any other ideas for hockey? The Vegas Golden Knights, San Jose Sharks. Well, we'll brainstorm for that one.
Any beers from Canada?
Oh yeah, Olsen Canadian for the Canadians. Boo, that'll be a real. Can't wait for that one, huh? Hey, remember Uncle Pete had all those Canadian beers from all those Canadian breweries. We'll find something. Mm-hmm. There was a really nice breakfast barley wine I saw. We got to find the name of that and see if we can tie that in. Sleep good that night. Well, I think that about wraps it up. We talked a little bit about the stories, Right Brain and Roke merging together. Right Roke or Roke Brain. I don't know.
Which, by the way, did you say breakfast barley wine? Like, do you just not make it to lunch when you drink it, or
barley wine made with coffee? It's kind of a different, but it's a Canadian brewery. It looked really interesting. I bought 2 bottles. They were like $10 a piece, kind of like Prairie price, but. I'm going to give it a shot.
I like to think of tailgating. There could be the tailgating or napping. Those are the only 2 things I could think that would be good for.
I would not recommend tailgating with a barley wine. You may not make the game. Or bomb. Yep. It's a more of a celebratory once you're home for the night nightcapper.
The only nice thing about bomb or the other ones is that. Because it's a higher volume, you don't have to make as many trips to the bathroom.
It's true.
The Dallas sucks. The Dallas sucks. If you're looking to get a buzz on, you're going to blow out a kidney waiting in line.
Yeah, well, Manny, the tailgater, has walked into the line for the porta potty with 2 beers in hand, one in each hand, and by the time you get there, you pee, and then you go back to your tailgate, and you got to get right back in line. And that's no way to spend a tailgate. So that's a good strategy. If you just take like a barley wine and sip that, it's quality over quantity. You don't have to be going to the bathroom constantly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good beers, good times. Just like to say we miss Dugout and Uncle Pete. Miss you. We hope you will be back soon. And Ross, Greg, David, Andrea.
Come to think of it, if we'd done a beer in celebration of Josh Gordon going to the Patriots, we could have gotten something from Ross, the Wicked Weed.
That's right. Ross actually had a family movie night tonight, so was unable to make it. But everybody's got lives to live, and he'll be back. Wicked Weed. Ross refuses to. He probably wouldn't even send us any Wicked Weed. It's
Wicked Weed's
Ross
dead to him.
Boycotts. Well, as I do. I boycott most Evil Empire beers. Although I do make an exception for Bourbon County. I have to full disclosure there. I can't stay away from those for some reason. For some reason because they're very good. But I don't think he'll be sending us any Wicked Weed. But I can let him speak for himself the next time he's on the show. But. That's another topic for another day. But perhaps we could send you some Wicked Weed for one of your other podcasts.
It's true. It's very true.
So before we close out, just a couple ideas for some future episodes. I got a friend up in the Pacific Northwest, a fraternity brother. And we got Eric, too, that was on the show once or twice. So I think maybe a Pacific Northwest episode's in order. I don't know if we did that before, even when you were going up there all the time. Did we, Chris?
No, I don't think we did.
So I think maybe we could do a Beers of the PNW, Beers of the PNW. And, again, listeners, send us ideas for episodes. We will listen. We will do them. We could even pipe you into the show. All you got to do is Skype in. Reach out to us. We are accessible.
Yeah. We're on Twitter at Beer Nuts Podcast, or you can just drop us an email, beernutspodcast@ChristopherMedia.net. Show comes out every weekend, generally Sunday. Sometimes I'll post it early on Saturday.
Depends if you're dead on the couch.
Correct. Yes. But yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. And we'll see you next week. Oh, wait. God damn it. No, that's not the sign off for this podcast. See, I've had too much beer. John, I think we need to go to Mexico.
Okay. Well, as they say in old Mexico City,
AMF.
If you like this show, please tell a friend. Please follow us on Twitter and like and share us on Facebook by searching for Christopher Media. You can subscribe to all ChristopherMedia.net shows for free on ChristopherMedia.net. Please make sure to rate and comment on all your favorite Christopher Media shows. Thank you in advance for supporting Christopher Media by clicking on the PayPal button and by clicking through to all the sponsors who support ChristopherMedia.net. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net, and thank you for listening.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.